about how I met my husband. Meeting somebody online after 3 months, meeting somebody online and getting married after 3 months is a bit wild. I mean, I must say that, and I thank God that it worked out. But it got me really thinking about, like, how we met for real. So how we met was back in the day, you had AOL. So you needed a modem to get onto the internet. And it would take like 5 minutes to get to the internet through AOL. And so we had I think it was called Black Planet or Black something. It was like chat rooms is what we had back then. You didn't have Facebook, Instagram, FaceTime, none of that. TikTok, you didn't have none of that back then. And so via Black Planet, he sent me an email. And in the email, he introduced himself, said he saw my picture on Black Planet. And I was like, oh, okay, this is my first time ever getting like an email from somebody from this Black Planet or Black whatever chat room. So he started asking me a lot of questions, and I'm like, okay. And I started asking him a lot of questions about who he is, where he's from. He told me he was from Nigeria. He told me about his family. So we communicated via email for like 3 weeks before we even spoke. So during that 3-week period, I'm telling my family, I met this guy. He sent me this email. What do you think? I'm telling my friends, of course, that were not very positive. You got to be careful. And I thank them for that. They was just looking out for me. But finally, he's like, can I call you? Can I get your telephone number? And I'm like, okay, give me a call. So I remember he called me, y'all, and I could not understand nothing this man was saying. His accent was so strong. Only thing I could say was yes. Okay, yes. Okay. And I remember rushing him off the phone because I'm like, I don't understand nothing this man is saying. It was so funny. So after that, I avoided talking to him on the phone for a while. And we just continued to communicate via email, which I think was good, right? Because it just got me comfortable with asking him questions, deeper questions, and things of that nature. But after that, we communicated a little bit more by phone. And me not, being me, I used to press my ear up to the phone real close, thinking that would help me understand him more. But over time, I had to tell him, I need you to slow down. I don't understand what you're saying. And he was like, all this time you didn't understand me? And I'm like, not really. And we kind of laughed about it. But that's how we met on Black Planet. So we continued to communicate via email. Like I said, this is about the 3rd week. He's asking me questions about my family. I'm asking him questions about his family. He's asking me about my career. I let him know that I travel for work. I'm in sales administration. He informed me that he worked 2 jobs, that he worked job as a valet as well as a CNA, so he was working 2 jobs. I informed him that I was a single mom because at the time I did have a child, and his response was, oh, you have a child? And I said yes. And he said, oh, okay. And we talk about that now, and he said he never envisioned himself dating or being with someone that had a child. Like, that was new for him. And so I think he said he really had to really think about that. He wasn't sure how that interaction would be, right? But we continued to talk. And finally he said, well, can I take you out? Can we meet? Mind you, this is going on week 4. We've never met in person. We're just communicating via email and via phone. So I said, sure. So we set up a date. Unfortunately, the week that we were supposed to go on the date, I caught the flu and got sick. And so I couldn't go on the date. Also, during that week of our date, someone had broke into my car and bust the window on my car. And I told him, I said, wow, I've been sick. I had this flu, couldn't go on our date, and somebody broke into my car. The first thing he said was, well, how much is it going to cost to get fixed? I said, it's like $300. He's like, okay, I'll send you the money. And I said, oh, wow, thank you. He's like, yeah, I'll send you the money to get your car fixed. Okay, great. He did that, and that was a nice gesture. Really appreciated that. And so he's like, so when are we going to get the opportunity to go out? And I said, well, you tell me. I'm on vacation because this is around the holidays. I'm off for the next few weeks until the new year. So he invited me to a naming ceremony. One of his friends just had a baby, and it was 7 days after the baby was born. And he said, why don't you come to the naming ceremony? And I said, okay. And he explained to me what it was and all of that. I said, okay. So I decided I'll go to this naming ceremony. The day of the naming ceremony, I went to go see my stylist who does my hair, and I was really, excited and telling her about it, but I was apprehensive. And I said, I'm getting a little nervous about this. I haven't met this guy. We've been talking online. We've only been talking on the phone. I'm not sure I'm going to go. And she said, girl, you better go to that naming ceremony. She had dated Jamaicans, Africans. She had dated people from other cultures before. I had not. She said, you're going to have a wonderful time. Go, enjoy yourself. It's going to be a lot of fun. So she convinced me to go. And so I went home, thought about it again, and I said, you know what the hell? I'll go. So our first date was a naming ceremony. How I Met My Nigerian Husband, Part 3. So I go home, I get ready for the naming ceremony. It's on the south side of town. So I drive, and I'm by myself. I didn't invite any of my friends. I decided to go to this party alone to meet him. Someone I've never met before, only spoke on the phone and been emailing. So I was a bit bold. I did it though. Walk in, I hear all the music. I see all these beautiful outfits and clothes and, people just looking good, something I had never seen before. The clothing, the color, the food, the people, the music, just having a good time. And so, as I'm going there, I'm on my way, I'm outside, on the phone calling or whatever. So he comes outside, he meets me outside, and I finally see him in person. Yes, he is tall. But he was skinny. Like, he was skinny. And I couldn't tell that from the picture, right? And the first thing I said when I saw him, I didn't say it out loud. I said, wow, he's skinny. He's thin. Good looking guy though in the face, but I'm saying to myself, this brother needs some food. He needs to put some meat on his bones. He was thin. And so, but he was well dressed, very nice, very sweet, quickly held my hand and took me to the table. Everybody was really nice and gracious. There was this one guy sitting at the end of the table, and he just kept smiling at me I'm like, what is up with that? This guy keeps smiling at me. Very nice though. Like, everybody was super nice, super gracious, very accommodating, making sure I needed something to drink, that I need food, that I need this. All of his friends and everybody there that was very gracious. So he went up to introduce me to the celebrants, the mom and the dad of the child. And so he introduces me to the guy, and he turns and he introduces me to the mom of the child. And I looked, and I'm going to use the name Angela. I said, Angela? She said, yeah. I said, what are you doing here? And she said, this is my ceremony. I said, what? Me and this girl had went to college together, and this was her naming ceremony. And I was like, oh my God, it's a small world. And I was telling him, like, I know her. This is amazing. Like, I know her, and I'm at her naming ceremony. So that also was like, okay, that made me comfortable, because it was somebody I knew that was married to a Nigerian man that was going through the full process of having a naming ceremony for their child. So the night went on. We were having a good time. He was a little bit touchy-feely, so I was just kind of like, okay, don't be touching on me like that. Chill out, dude. Like, come on now. Very, very touchy-feely. And so after a while, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go, because it was getting kind of late. And so he walks me to my car. We say our pleasantries, we hug. It was great meeting you. He's like, I want to see you again. I'm like, yeah, we'll figure something out. But he said something that turned me off. He said, oh, I love you. Red flag. Let's come back for part 4. How I Met My Husband, part 4. So after the naming ceremony, he called me for a few days after that. I just was not answering my phone because I was turned off with the I love you comment. So I just would not answer his call. He would email me, and I just didn't want to be bothered because I was turned off by that. So I would say about the second, third day, I answered the phone, and the first thing he says, I hope there's no problem. And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I haven't heard from you. You haven't picking up the phone. Like, what's the problem? And I said, well, the problem is I think you are on some BS, for you to tell me that you love me and you just met me. I don't even know you. You don't love me. And he said, oh my God. Oh my God. And I said, what do you mean? Oh my God. He said, oh my God, Jesus. And I was like, okay, why is he calling on the name of Jesus? But he said, well, it's not that I'm in love with you. I like you. I've spoken to you. I love what I've seen so far. Not that I'm in love with you. He's like, he's taking this too far. And I said, I just felt like it's on some BS. And I said, I don't have time for that at this point in time in my life. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. I don't have time for games. And he's like, you're taking it too far. There's no problem. He said, can we still go out to dinner? I want to take you to a one-on-one dinner, just you and I. Oh my God, my allergies are acting up. My eyes running water. But in any case, he said he wants to take me out to dinner. He said, we didn't get a chance to do that one-on-one dinner that we were supposed to do. Can we have the one-on-one dinner so we can talk a little bit more about what I said and then actually get to know each other, really get to know each other, ask those kind of burning questions. I said, okay, fine. Let's go to dinner. Let's talk through it. But I'm letting you know now, I'm not here for games. I'm just not here for games. And he's like, okay, I hear you, but it's not going to be any problem. I said, okay, fine. So we end up going to dinner, I think the next week on a Tuesday, because that was his off days. Oh, my eyes really running water. And so we go to dinner, we meet. Once again, when I see him, I'm like, he's tall, he's a handsome guy, but the man needs some food. Hopefully he'll order a couple things on this menu because you need to eat for real. And so we get there, we sit down. Why does man have like a long laundry list of questions that he wanted to ask me? So he had a laundry list of questions that he wanted to ask me, which I appreciate. Let me know he was doing his investigating and due diligence as well. I had a bunch of questions that I want to ask him as well. I think I was just really intrigued, right? Because I had never met anybody from a different country. I had never met anybody and considered dating and being with somebody that had his situation, right? So it was very new to me. I'm a very inquisitive person, so I tend to ask a lot of questions to get a better understanding of the individual versus that individual's situation. Like, I want to get to know you and kind of replay your story in my mind as you're speaking. A lot of his questions were surrounding family and family values. Also, the fact that I had a child, he had some questions about that. I had a lot of questions about like his background, his education, wanted to learn a little bit more about his quote unquote paper situation, why he didn't have papers, what exactly that meant. He was very open about that, very honest about it. Never once did he lie to me about his situation or try to hide it. He was very honest about it. So I would say the night, ended very well. And I can honestly say after that night, even though I had spoken to him on the phone, I had went to the naming ceremony, I had, been, emailing him, I really did not see him or see the man until after that one-on-one. And I felt a lot more comfortable with him as a man and not really looking at the negativity or the possible negativity of his situation. But after that, things started rolling. Let's come back for part 5.